the goal for me is to listen.
Yes.
I'm going to get so excited about this topic.
Oh, all right.
Here we go. Welcome to Back Porch Chats,
where we have conversations about hope, grace, and recovery.
Our mission is to shape 12-step communities where sponsors and sponsees support each other to move beyond the shame of abuse.
We are dedicated to sharing knowledge about the connection between addiction and sexual abuse with people who are struggling to stop their destructive, compulsive behavior.
Are you ready to embrace freedom from your past trauma?
And help others do the same? If so, grab a cup of coffee.
And join the conversation on the Back Porch with Vince
and Gina.
All right, Gina, we have got the real deal today.
Mm-hmm.
This is as close as the rubber's going to hit the road with the purpose of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
What we're about ready to do. So we're just going to get right into it. Let's talk about our guest today a little bit.
Well, our guest today is Theo Fleury. I can't pronounce it. He's an NHL Stanley Cup champion, Olympic gold medalist, and a World Cup junior champion. And one of the things I love about him is it's ice skating. No, it's hockey. And on his website, he says, aside from a number of things, that when he got on the ice, he felt free. Mm-hmm. And I know exactly how that feels, from coming from a childhood of trauma, that freedom that you get on the ice. Whenever anything would go bad, I'd go run and get on the ice. And when things really started getting bad and my addiction hit, I went ice skating with my son in Tahoe. And my son, first time he ever saw me on the ice, he goes, "Oh my God, Mom, I've never seen you so free." And I said, "Yeah, that's just what it feels like." So we're going to talk to Theo Fleury and find out why he loved the ice. And it's not just the ice. So anyways, Theo, how are you doing today?
I am awesome. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
We're doing great. We've been doing this about a year, and this whole podcast is dedicated to people who've been sexual abuse, childhood trauma, and that relationship to addiction. And that's all in your story. I have found over the years in my work in the 12-step rooms that I've sponsored a lot of people I've sponsored people that seem to have problems with relapse and stuff. And then when we scratch down below the surface, we find this common bond of this abuse. And what I love about this, and I'm going to shut up, I promise after this, let you get at it, is that it is so hard for men to talk about being sexually abused. It is so hard for us. I know in the 12-step rooms, anytime I bring this up, there's a lot of guys that get confronted. You don't need to talk about that. We just want to do this and that. And I say, you guys just don't understand. Leave me alone. I've been doing it 27. I've been doing this 27 years. So it's not my first goat rope. And so I will say this, and I want to get into this Me Too. A manly man who played hockey and is standing up and saying, "Me too. I was sexually abused as a child, and this is how it's impacted my life." So thank you for that. It's much needed. It's courageous, and get at it. Me too.
Well, I didn't realize how common it is until, I wrote the book in 2009, where I detailed in great detail, what happened to me. And it wasn't, even at the first book signing, a man who was clearly disheveled and in his own pain and suffering, approached the table and put the book on the table, looked me in the eye and said, "Me too." And right at that moment, I knew there was a reason why, I had experienced my own sexual abuse was to get it out there, talk about it, without shame, without guilt, without anger, without resentment. And basically I got run over. And, I've been doing this for 15 years and, we're going to be on this call probably for an hour. And in an hour, when I return to my phone, I will probably have 2 or 3 more people that are reaching out, asking for help who've, had the same experience. So, I believe it's one of the biggest epidemics on the planet. And, like I said, I've been around the subject now for 15 years and it's not going away. I think more and more people are finding the courage and the strength to they themselves to, you know, come out and talk about what happened. But you know, and you know, there's so many examples that we've had over the last probably 10 or 15 years. You know, Catholic Church has to talk about sexual abuse every day. Penn State, USA Gymnastics, the Boy Scouts of America, the Chicago Blackhawks, Jeffrey Epstein, you know, Harvey Weinstein, you know, and, you know, when child and human trafficking is one of the most successful and most profitable businesses on the planet,
Right.
you know, we, and the majority of people don't know that. And who are the biggest consumers of child trafficking? Pedophiles are the biggest consumers at a rate of about $150 billion a year. I heard an interview the other day where that figure is going to $200 billion a year industry.
Wow.
And you know, once again, you know, we're not paying enough attention. The media suppresses stories of pedophilia. You know, we've seen a perfect example with the Rittenhouse case where, you know, the guy that Rittenhouse shot and killed was a convicted pedophile. And, you know, the media is trying to make this particular person into a hero, you know, and so, you know, we got it all backwards, and we need strong advocates like yourselves and myself and many more to, you know, to keep the conversation going and not be suppressed or silenced, you know, in what we're trying to do here.
One of the most important things that I have found in my own recovery from this is connection, connection, connection. If I keep it locked inside, it kills me. But if I talk about it and find others, that
Yeah.
connection, that out of the shadows type concept.
Yeah, well, that's the opposite of addiction, is connection,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And relationship. And you know, I know in my own story that, you know, after all the abuse was finished, you know, I tried to deal with it on my own, and you know, I failed every single time, you know,
Yeah.
and the one relationship I neglected the most through all of this was the relationship I had with myself. And obviously, you know, being part of 12 step, you know, it really helps you get in touch with self and helps you purge, you know, all of those things that, you know, that keep us drunk and keep us using, and you know, the erratic behavior, the mental illness that comes with trauma as well. So, you know, it's a never ending cycle of, you know, self-abuse that needs to stop.
You know, I did listen to a podcast with Kim Bartlett that you did, and she talks about this compulsive hatred, and I just kind of related because that compulsive hatred, I have that kind of for myself because of this that's come out of this abuse.
Yeah, well, the four main characteristics of trauma that become sort of the core values of what we think about ourselves is, first is abandonment and neglect. Second one is I'm not good enough. Third one, I'm not lovable. And then the fourth one, do I even exist in the world, is what's left behind from most of us who've experienced trauma. And so what Kim helped me with was to rewire all of that old thinking, you know, and, you know, now, you know, I do love myself. I take care of myself. You know, all those things that I didn't do before, and masked all of it with addictive behavior, whether drugs, alcohol, food, sex, gambling, workaholism, you know, whatever it is. You know, I don't do those things now. You know, I really am conscious of the fact that every day I need to work on my spiritual being, my emotional being, and my physical being. And when I do all three of those things, I have pretty good one day at a time.
I really relate to that, Theo. I wake up every day and have to remember that I get to start this program over again. I get to start recovering from my sex abuse and stuff over again each day. I have to participate in that.
Yeah. And, they say if you think about the past, that's depression. And if you think about the future, that's anxiety. And so, especially over the last 2 years with the COVID pandemic, we don't know what the future looks like. And, me being an empath, I walk out my front door every day and I'm almost knocked over by the amount of anxiety,
Yeah.
on the planet. And it's because, we, like I said, people don't know what their futures are. They don't know what their future holds. And we live in a constant state of fear. And how do you overcome that fear? Well, we all know in the program, when people get the spirituality piece, which is, the first 3 steps of the program, when you get that piece, very few of us go back to, those addictive behaviors. And so spirituality to me is the key to all of this, because faith trumps fear, right? And when we believe in something greater than ourselves, we're in conscious contact with, the universe and our energies and positivity and all these things that we need to learn. And when we grasp onto it, nothing bothers us anymore. We're able to reach into our heart chakra and, learn about compassion, empathy, forgiveness, all these wonderful things that the heart teaches us. And mental illness is I'm in my head 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's mental illness, right? And so if I can get into my heart space, right, be of service, help other people, all those things, then, I'm not going to be in my head. And when I'm not in my head, I don't suffer from mental illness as much as, I used to.
For those of us who were sexualized before we were physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually ready, that choice was robbed from us and everything. And I say that because the spiritual component, I heard one of your podcasts that you said for you, your spiritual journey was inward first, was reconnecting to your spirit. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we're abused, even our spirit can't handle it and it fucks off. Like, it leaves us. Yeah. Our spirit leaves us, because even for our spirit, it's too much to take. And so the journey back to self is, you got to go find that spirit and bring it back, and bring it back to you, and reinsert it back into this body. Because when we die, our bodies die, but our spirits go on and live, right? So, right. The spiritual component, I cannot, preach enough about the importance of, having something greater than yourself to lean on. Because for me, when I grasped onto that concept, the addiction part was easy after that.
Yeah, I know when I was full in on my addiction, I just felt so empty. And even before then, I felt empty, and it was a little different, but there was no spirituality. And I'd attended church for years, but I was just kind of going,
Yeah, there's
but the reason why we go to church is for community.
Right.
We go for community, we go for relationship, we go for connection. That's why we go to church, right? We like, every little small town in Canada has an arena, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's our church, right? The arena is church. That's where we go to get all of the stuff that we're lacking in our life, community, team, you name it, it's all there, and it's just like, going to the rooms of 12 steps, same thing. It's about community, it's about connection, it's about being present, and then grasping onto all the great things about the program, service and giving back and helping and all those things, right? That's what we lack in society today is, we're very divided.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more middle. You're either right or you're left. and there is no middle ground, which cause and you know, when people are traumatized, you know, we're really full of anger and rage. And so, you know, this fits perfectly into the narrative that they're selling us every day is you know, we're going to tap into everybody's anger and rage and resentment and all that, and we're going to make them stand on one side or the other. And so, you know, we need to get back to the middle, you know, where every life matters, every human being's life matters. And, you know, we need a huge healing operation that has to happen worldwide, because right now we are at odds against each other. And you know, well, you know, there's nobody that knows chaos and insanity better than I do. And that's exactly what we're watching every single day.
Oh God, I love good chaos. I don't have to be
Mhm.
responsible
Oh,
for
yeah.
it myself. If I got some good chaos going on, I can, you
Yeah.
know, and I love to make it your problem. That way I don't have to do anything about my problem if it's your problem. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Well,
know-
and it's actually the real addiction is chaos and drama and insanity. That's the addiction. It's not the alcohol or the drugs. It's the chaos, it's the drama, it's the insanity of life. Because when you grow up in that kind of environment, you know, there's always a reason for the behavior, and that's a behavior that's learned in childhood. So I grew up in chaos and drama, and so as an adult, what do you think I did?
Or-
Chaos and drama,
Yeah.
right?
And the needle goes in the arm when I start being a victim. The
Yes.
chaos and drama is the addiction, but the needle and the drug is being a victim.
You know, when I got sober, about 5 months after I got sober, I asked that question, why am I creating so much chaos? And I was taking classes to coach at the time, and they had said that every behavior you do makes sense if you really look at the why. And that was the big question on my mind. Why is my life in all this chaos? And I, you know, going doing the activities, I ran it down, and it turns out, yeah, I was creating all of it, you know, without any help from anyone else. I was and playing the victim about it as well.
Yeah. It's, you know,
Shane,
it's all part of it, right? You know, and I like to say that I live a very drama-free, simple life. And anybody that brings drama into my life or chaos into my life is quickly eliminated from, you know, from the equation, because, you know, I don't need it. I don't appreciate it. You know, that's where, you know, we also learn those wonderful thing called boundaries, you know,
right.
that protect us from being hurt. And so, you know, we need to instill, you know, those boundaries. And I would say that most people grow up in chaos and drama and insanity. There is no boundaries, right? Everybody's just in everybody's face and yelling and screaming and causing all kinds of shit. And, you know, so yeah, boundaries are really important for people who are in recovery, so that
Well, you know,
we don't get hurt.
you know, Theo, I can't be around it because it's an addictive. It's just like, you know, drugs and alcohol don't bother me that much anymore, but I ain't going to walk in a room where they're, you know, I ain't going to walk into a heroin den. I ain't going to walk into a room full of cocaine. And it's the same thing with drama. I cannot be around it very long that I don't find myself being hooked back in. So I eliminate it from my own emotional sobriety.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's some people, like, people just don't talk about that part, right? And because, you know, well, we I know since I came into the world that the world has been nothing but chaos and drama and insanity, right? So, you know, the powers that be know that, you know, that's how they rule, right? And you know, over the last 2 years, it's even been amped up even more, right? Where we're constantly being bombarded on a daily basis with chaos and drama and insanity 24/7. Because let's face it, you know, the whole entire planet is traumatized, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it is the string which binds us all together as human beings. It's something that we all share as trauma. And you know, the trauma doesn't have to be as, you know, extreme as mine. You know, trauma is really kind of subtle when you think about it, and
There's two kinds, Theo, that I found. There's the intense trauma that comes from being raped and molested,
mhm,
that sort of stuff. And then there's this low grade, consistent trauma that can happen where we're robbed of some of our personal freedoms over a long period of time. The end effect is that both of them can cause severe dysfunction, whether it's intense right now or low grade. Mine was intense right now several times and then low grade too. So I had a
yeah,
winner.
yeah. You get it both ways. So, and
Changing.
and the trauma leaves us in emotional pain and suffering, right? And what's emotional pain and suffering? Mental illness, right? And so how do we deal with that emotional pain? Well, we tend to gravitate towards the dark side of life and get involved in addictions as a coping mechanism to suppress, the emotional pain that we're experiencing on a daily basis. So, and you just get caught in that perpetual trauma loop, right? And
Yep.
it's hard to get out.
The I when I work on both sides of program, addicts and alcoholics and codependent in some of the other 12-step programs. And when I'm
Yeah.
dealing with my fathers and their sons, one of the things is you got to get to the place where your addict son is not doing that against you. They're trying to do something for themselves. Is it working? No. But they're trying to heal the pain, entertain themselves. They're out there trying to do something. And as long as you are stigmatizing them and saying something, it's sin or evil or something else, you just don't get it. You're not going to be effective. So that what you just said is so true. Most of us are out here, we're just trying to do something for ourselves.
Yeah. We're doing the best we can with what we have. If we knew
Right.
better, we'd do better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes. The changing gears here a little bit. I know that when I was abused in some of my therapy and the work that I've done around that I felt like that I was robbed of my manhood. In fact, the words that came out of me is I was made to be a little girl. And all of my life, I have missed that struggle with being a man because of what happened to me when I was 5 and 8 and 12 and stuff like that. Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, 100%. I spent a lot of my drinking career in strip clubs, right?
Right.
Trying to find value and wanted to be liked, wanted to be attractive, wanted to be, all those things, right? And fortunately, it was the wrong place to be looking for that kind of stuff because I was still, not connected to my body. I was not connected to my spirit. I was just kind of out there, surviving, and so had to do a lot of work around that stuff, especially, the sport I played was a man's game, especially back in the 80s and 90s. It was a very violent, brutal kind of sport, right? Where, you could actually die on the ice,
Yeah.
and so, growing up in that sort of, mentality and teaching, it was kind of like the old army, style of leadership. There was very seldom any reassurance or, positive from coaches, et cetera. And so yeah. And then, learning about, true vulnerability, has been the key to my success, is being able to talk about the tough stuff and without shame, without guilt, without anger, without resentment. Any of those things is just, what, here it is. This is my story. And not everybody's going to appreciate, what's coming out of my mouth. But what I know is that every time I get the opportunity to either do a podcast or speak or put on a workshop or whatever, I know that I'm affecting people in my audience. And if I wasn't vulnerable and sort of kind of sugar coated, and was a canned speaker, so to speak, then, I wouldn't be helping anybody. Right.
No.
And, when you sort of take a no bullshit kind of attitude and just say, what, here it is, this is my story. and I get to tell my story whichever way you want. And if you don't like it, then, you know, too fucking bad, you know. this is my story. And that's what I always tell people too, is like, there's no courage in judgment. Doesn't take any courage to judge.
No.
But there takes a tremendous amount of courage in telling your truth. And, you know, we need more truth, right?
Yep. Absolutely. What I found whenever I told my story and just let it rip, that if we don't tell our stories exactly all the people are not going to know where to tap in and say, oh, my story's just like that. What did you do? How did you get better? What is this like? And, you know, if we're in there, like you said, it's all unicorns and rainbows. That don't reach anybody. You know, we don't need one more advertisement for how great the 12-step rooms are. We need more authenticity on that. So what did getting help for you look like? You've talked about the 12-step rooms, and obviously that connection stuff's been part of. What other kind of stuff, activities that you've had to deal in to get better from this childhood?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, the first exercise was surrender, right? You know, how many days ago? Hang on, I just got to look at my little app here. So 5,908 days ago, I hit my knees in a washroom and I surrendered, you know, had it out with the big guy upstairs. And you know, the next day I woke up, and that was September 18th, 2005. And I haven't had a drink or a drug since. And, you know, it was really the start of, you know, unpacking all of this trauma that I was carrying around for many years. So I've done every kind of therapy known to mankind, you know, and
I've done a lot too.
And the reason, you know, the reason why I did it was obviously to help myself, but more importantly, being in a space of being a helper. You know, I wanted to find out which therapeutic modalities worked, which ones didn't work, so that when people approach me, because people approach me every day looking for help, right? And so, you know, that was important. But for me, practicing spirituality on a daily basis, whatever that looks like to you, is the most important thing when you're working through trauma.
So what does that look like for you when you practice spirituality?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So, you know, I'm a Indigenous person. I'm an Aboriginal person. And, you know, there's 630 First Nation communities in Canada, and I visited 420 of the 630 communities. And what happened was, you know, I was there to help them. And, you know, what happened was they helped me more than I helped them, because they introduced me to spirituality on a level that I could fully understand. And, you know, so, you know, daily smudging, participating in ceremony, which means going to sweat lodges and pulling out our pipes and smoking our pipes and praying to the creator and the grandfathers and the grandmothers, and then beating on the drums and singing and, you know, all that stuff, going to Sundance, going to powwow, you know, all of those things, you know, really, like I said, took me to the next level of spirituality, which, you know, I was praying for, you know, long before it happened. And, you know, run into some really wise spiritual healers, medicine men, you know, all these kind of things. And I really believe that, you know, the Indigenous community is the greatest untapped resource of medicine on the planet. And so every time I get an opportunity to talk about it, you know, I love talking about it, because what was I attracted to the most? I was attracted to Serenity, and these medicine men, these spiritual leaders, you know, had so much serenity in how they talked, how they choose their words, how their movements of their body were. And I was like, you know what, that's what I want. I want that. I want to be that. I want to have that much serenity. I want to have that much peace. I want to have that much joy, happiness, all those things, because my whole entire life, I didn't have any of that, even though I was succeeding on the ice, wasn't enough, it wasn't enough.
Never is.
And so, being involved in my community and helping my community heal, but they're also helping me heal, is, pretty special and pretty, incredibly amazing. So I'm grateful every day that, that I have, tons of people that I can reach out to when I'm struggling.
I've found it's so important. There's 3 phases for me of this whole recovery thing. The first phase is where I've got to demolish my whole relationship with my old ways and what they were doing. I have to come to the terms that they do not work. And then I've got to design something to replace that with fun, spirituality, meaning, purpose. And what you just said, and what I'm hearing it is that's what you replaced a lot of your old addictive behaviors and stuff with that connection and with that spirituality. And then we got to go do it. That's the missing piece. We can,
which is the hardest part, is the action part, right?
Yeah.
That's why we get stuck, is because, a lot of us are procrastinators and, avoidance, we avoid, we don't know what it's like to feel well, right? We don't know,
It's
right?
scary. It's just flat out scary.
I don't trust that. Give me drama. Give me drama. Don't
exactly. And so
Serenity.
So Serenity scares us, right? Serenity is we're not used to that, right? So, but like I said, I feel very blessed every day that the universe has provided that for me. I do a lot of meditation too, all kinds of meditation, which helps as well, because the mind is a powerful thing, and thoughts become things. And so if you're thinking negatively, you're going to attract negativity. But if you're if you're thinking positive, which meditation does, guided meditation helps you, become more positive, then, positive things are going to happen. Right. So.
Yeah. What was that you said earlier? We live in our heads 24/7. That's just a horrible place in meditation. So what are you out? I noticed that you've got a lot going on. You've got your websites. You got, as we ramp down from the pandemic and stuff, there's a lot that you're doing out there. So how are you bringing this message to the world?
Well, I probably do 4 or 5 different podcasts every week, whether, so I love talking about this subject because it's so important and so needed. And it's been so suppressed, and there's so much stigma attached to it. So I spend a lot of time, in my office here chatting to, amazing folks like yourself who are trying to get the message out there. I have my own podcast. I belong to a couple of charitable organizations, one in town here called the Breaking Free Foundation, where we support all trauma survivors. We provide therapy grants for them because most people can't afford professional help or professional therapy. So we help people get into therapy. And then twice a month, we do group therapy sessions where I co-facilitate with a bunch of other people, where anybody and everybody can come and will want to talk about trauma, mental health, and addiction. And, it's been an amazing program because I really believe that peer-to-peer counseling is the most effective kind of counseling out there. And we've had a lot of people who have come into our group who've been suicidal, who are now counseling other newcomers, that come into the room. So it's similar to 12-step, right? We're just talking about trauma. And then I belong to a global mental health organization out of New York called We're All a Little Crazy. And we have taken a really holistic approach to mental illness, where You know, we've got functional medicine doctors, functional medicine psychiatrists, you know, that, you know, the first alternative is not big pharma. It's actually, you know, let's take a look at your blood work. Let's take a look at your body functions. Let's, you know, let's see if we can improve your health through nutrition, exercise, meditation, you know, all these kind of things. And so, and we have a bunch of celebrities that are all part of this group. And, you know, it's been a great group to be associated with.
Yeah, we're all a little crazy. Yeah, I would like to join, but I guess I'm going to have to look for them that you're a lot crazy, because I don't know. I was just a little crazy.
Well, that's what I always tell people when I stand on stage. I said, I'm still fucking crazy. It's just way more manageable.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, the best that it ever gets is I recognize sooner when I'm crazy, and hopefully I can do something about it. But the crazy's still there. It's still my go-to.
Yeah. Well, the thing is there's, you know, there's 10,000 different ways to heal, right? And you know, you just got to find your daily routine, right? Because you know, in the program, it teaches us it's 24 hours at a time, right? You know, I might drink tomorrow, but today I'm not going to drink, right? Which tells me, you know, I have a 24-hour affliction, and you know, I just need to do the right thing 24 hours at a time, get up the next day, rinse and repeat, right? And then next thing you know, you got, you know, 30 years or 20 years of sobriety, and you're like, what the hell just happened, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I tell people all the time, 90 days, that's a long time. 27 years, that's just a drop in the bucket.
Exactly. Yes.
90 days lasts forever. And then, you know, the thing about this recovery thing, it works, it's slow, but it don't work for long. I got to keep coming back.
Isn't that the truth? You know, it's like, you know, it's like that story in the Big Book where that guy had 11 years and he went back out and they said, you know, too many years, not enough days.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You know, so yeah, I love that analogy, one day at a time. Right.
Exactly. Now you getting back out and doing some of your speaking stuff now? Is that starting?
Yeah, actually it's been good. I was up in Edmonton, which is 3 hours north of Calgary. I spent the day with 40 servicemen in the Canadian Army who were struggling with some PTSD and you know, other mental health issues. So it was great. Tomorrow I'm heading to an Indigenous community north of where I live, and so I'm looking forward to that. And December 9th I'm doing a corporate event. December 17th another corporate event. So yeah, I'm really excited to get back out on the road, because you know, basically before COVID hit, I was on the road once a week, at least, somewhere in North America, you know, talking about trauma, mental health, and addiction. And so, yeah, so I'm excited about getting back out there.
Yeah. And you have a couple of books. Can you tell us about those?
Yes. So the first book I wrote is called Playing with Fire, which is basically my story. And then the second book is called Conversations with a Rattlesnake, who I wrote with a very world-renowned therapist, where we basically had a 4-year conversation going back and forth with her, helping me rewire all of my trauma. And you can get both those books on my website, theofleury.life is my website, theofleury.life. And then I'm on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Theo Fleury 14. So, and I always put it out there. If you're listening to this podcast, you got nobody to talk to, please reach out to me on social media, send me a private message, and I will get back to you, guaranteed, probably within the hour.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful how much, you know, we're willing and able to help? I mean, I get so much from it.
Well, it's the only way we heal.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the only way.
One of the things that I like to say, I got some goofy sayings, but the 12th step is the most selfish step there is. I only do the 12th step for one reason, and that's for me.
Yeah.
You get some good out of it and it changes your life, that's all on your side. But I'm not here for you. I'm here for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, when you're on a healing journey, it is pretty selfish when you think about it, but you're not going to get better unless you actually look inside of yourself and undo all of the damage that's been done, thinking,
and
physically, for me, my biggest challenge is physical. I played a physical sport, and obviously I didn't take care of myself while I was playing. So getting out of bed every morning is quite the chore, and
I kind of wonder that if you ever dropped the sticks and dropped the gloves and headed to somebody going, why did I think this was a good idea?
Well, the paycheck was really good. So
yeah. Well, and there's one other thing before we close up here. Not only is he an author,
Mm-hmm.
world-class speaker,
Mm-hmm.
Olympic medalist,
Yep.
he is also a country singer.
Yeah.
And being a retired band director, music, in fact, all the music that you hear on our programs, I did all of that, Leo. But being a retired band director, when I said he's got a country music album out there, I went, oh no. Well, God, no, please not. But I went and I listened to it, and the stuff's pretty good. One of your songs, "My Life's a Country Music," I could tell you early made it to the list. But let me see if I can play a little sample for our people out there.
I stand for what I believe. To win from within. I am
real, free.
I tell my people all the time, you are enough, you are enough, you are enough. When I heard that song, that's what I thought. I am what I am. You are enough just the way you are.
That's right. Yeah. It's been a fun Well, I grew up around country music. So my dad was a guitar player. My grandpa was a fiddle player, aunts, uncles, cousins, when we all got together Sunday at my uncle's farm, the guitars came out and the fiddles came out, and we were dancing on the dirt outside, having a good time. So my fondest memories as a kid is sitting beside my grandfather listening to him playing the fiddle. And that song you mentioned, "My Life's a Country Song," that sort of was written as a thank you to my grandfather for giving me the gift of music and those amazing times, like I said, when I was a kid, sitting beside him and listening to him, play that incredible instrument.
My great-great-grandfather, he fought in the Civil War, but he was a fiddle player and a buck dancer. And so a lot of that my music talent comes through that. And when I was a band director, classically trained in trombone, and I did all that stuff, but I've always was a closet country guy. And whenever I got around and recorded and played music and everything, it always came out country, no matter what I did.
Yeah. Well, I grew up listening to a lot of Charlie Pride, and Charlie comes from down that way, and love Charlie Pride. So
yeah,
I actually got a chance to see him live a couple of years before he passed away. I took my mom and my dad to the concert, and we sang every song at the top of our lungs, and it was just awesome to because the thing about music is music can heal so much, and I can tell you that doing that album was incredibly cathartic, and loved every moment that we were in the studio, putting this whole thing together. And it turned out, like you said, it turned out really well. And
got another one in you, Theo?
Yeah, we're working on something right now. So we haven't had much opportunity to get in the studio, but everything's written. So hopefully when things ease up a little bit, we actually built our own studio, which is kind of cool. So we don't, we can just show up and throw some tracks down and do whatever needs to be done.
Studio here that I record, like I've recorded all this music and stuff. That's cool. Well, as a retired music teacher, let me encourage you. it's good. It's got a good message, and there is a intimate connection with the music that's just kind of hard to fake. And you know, in your music, I could tell that.
Well, it's just the vibration, right? You know, the vibration of, you know, the drums and, you know, the bass guitar, which drive the song, you know, that's the heartbeat of Mother Earth, right? You know, and that's that spiritual vibration that you know, it's really important.
If you get to the place where you're thinking this song's missing something, I wonder what it is. If it's a trombone, give me a call and I'll see if I can.
Okay. Perfect. That's right. You can throw some licks down for us.
That's right. That's right. You might not want. It's been a while since I played.
Well, Theo, we really want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us and letting our listeners hear you. I think that's where is that where we were going, Vince?
Yep, that's where we're going.
Yeah, I don't want to take any more of his time. So really appreciate that. And we'll make sure to get all the details to get a hold of Theo and his website and everything in our description.
Right.
Was there anything else you wanted to add, Theo?
Well, I hope I get to meet you guys sometime. Maybe I'll be down in Alabama doing a little talk somewhere. That'd be great to bump into you guys, and we can all go to a meeting together and hang out.
We have an amazing group that we go to with a lot of people in the group. And if that's not enticement enough, we have the Gulf Shores just about a 45-minute drive away, and it's absolutely beautiful there.
And are you a guitar player? So what do you play? What do you?
Me?
Yeah.
I just sing.
You just sing. Okay. Well, I
sing and write. So
I got a room full of guitars and
beautiful.
so we can get together. I got a bunch of friends that's in recovery.
Sure. Well, I know that there's good golf down in Alabama too. So I'm a huge golfer. So
we got that Trent Golf Trail down here.
Yeah. Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Yeah. I got some friends that'll take you golfing too.
Love it. All
right. Well, Vince, we had a cat that sounded like it was going through some trauma in the middle of this episode. Completely distracted me.
Did it? Yeah.
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 It was making a lot of noise. So we're going to go find that.
I don't think it came through, but if it did, I'm sorry. Another wonderful time with Theo Fleury, an amazing human being, really being vulnerable out there, bringing this much needed message.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Theo.
Thank